Welcome to Married to the Boss.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us again this week. This week, we're going to be talking about dealing with competition. Mike, you hinted on that last week.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't actually hint on that. You mentioned it, and I thought it would be good for us to actually elaborate on that. So we're here this week talking about competition. It's important to talk about that. We're going to be covering three things during today's episode. We're going to provide a definition of what competition is, because believe it or not, some people out there are confused, or at least perhaps they may not be completely aware of the competition out there. The other thing too is we're going to answer the question, should you be worried about competition, right? And last but not least is we're actually going to identify some things you can do to deal with it. So I don't know, did you want to get us started this week?
I will get us started.
Okay, perfect.
So let's just start with, you have a great idea, you've got a winner, you're excited, you run it past family and friends, and it's even more exciting now, it's going to work, and you're just ready to rock and roll. Well, competition is something you have to take very, very seriously for the obvious reasons. You're fighting for the customer. So it's important that while you're excited, that all of a sudden you run into another company that is offering the same services you are. And it's a deflator. I can tell you from experience. It will deflate your balloon a little bit.
Well, like my mom used to say, it'll definitely deflate your tires.
Oh, yeah, it'll deflate those too. So your balloons, your tires, everything's deflated. I'm not going to get into any more, Okay, let's just move on. So because that is competition is so important, and you now are a little bit deflated, in your mind, what goes through your mind is what went through my mind. The difference between us as partners in our company is that this one doesn't get deflated too much. I tend to get deflated a little bit. And so it doesn't take much for me to read something and think, uh-oh. So, but I'm over that. And it's took a long time to get over that, believe it or not. So, you have to think about when you do run into that, your first thing in your mind is, now what? We got a competitor. And you say, so what? And that's what she would say, so what? Well, should we keep going or should we quit? And she's still looking at me like, so what? Now, complaining, crying, and crumbling, I'm not sure I did any of that. I don't think I cried. But, it's kind of devastating when you find out that you've got a competitor that's been around a little bit. You didn't know about them. They got a lot of money. And if they don't have a lot of money, they got potential of getting a lot of money. And, you're just trying to figure out how you're going to make your little business go. So you think about all those things, then you think, let's just throw up our arms and let's just go back and you get a job and I get a job, because it's too difficult to start a company. Mm-hmm. Those are all going to go through your mind. Or you could compete. And so we decided to compete in our business, and we hope you do the same thing too. Mm-hmm. You cannot let anything distract you. If you do, such as competition, then you really weren't meant to go into business. Would you agree with that?
Totally agree.
Okay. So I go back to the whole sport analogy in regards to just because you're going to play against another team who's better, do you just stay in the locker room? Do you just not leave your home? No, you go and you fight, right? You fight. It's the same thing in business. You've got to be a fighter. If you're not a fighter, it's another thing. We talked about passion. We talked about a lot of characteristics, but you've got to be able to fight. Mm-hmm. And it's, some people like to fight. Some people don't like to fight. We happen to be fighters. So you need to be that way as well. So I'm gonna kind of stop here and let her kind of jump in. But I want to mention something that she's always said, especially in our business. And this isn't the exact quote, because she is definitely going to correct me, but it was something like this. You'll get it. If we can't be the first to the market, that's okay. but we have to be the best. True or false?
That's very true.
See, this just goes to show those listening to us that I listen after all these years to things that she says, that I can even come back and say a quote many, 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 many years later. So I deserve a little bit of, thank
You
you.
get a lot of that.
So with that, I'm going to kind of let you jump in.
Oh, okay. Now I have to behave.
Yes.
Well, there's 3 things you want to remember about competition. Your competition may be offering something similar, like you already articulated that. Your competition may also be selling. Your competition may also be selling maybe somebody that's selling something in the same channels or the same water hole that you're actually going to jump in and try to catch some fish. And in the same vein, your competition may also be the same group that is going to be targeting the same audience. So going back to Bradley's Bark Park, I may have another neighbor across the street that may come up with the same idea, or they may already be doing it for all I know. So to Mike's point is you have to be relentless in your desire to pivot and actually do something with that newfound news that you've got this competitor, whether they're close or far away or what have you. You need to have the grit to get
Yeah, and I'm going to throw just one other thing in I forgot to say. Competition is a good thing. Did I say? I didn't think I said that, right?
No,
No.
you didn't.
Okay, good. Competition is a good thing. And you might be thinking, scratching your head, why is that? Because they've already proved the concept that it's working. What the difference is between you and them, only you know. But you have to have something very, I would say, not very different, but different from your competitor, because they've already proven that this works. So if you look at Bradley's Bark Park, there are another company out there, other companies out there that are doing pet services. And so it works. People like it. They want their dog walked. They're busy. Today everybody's busy. You're busy when you're not busy, but in your mind you're busy. So who's going to walk the dog? So that to me is important to you understand that competition is good. So you have to stay calm and collective when you find out you have another competitor.
Yeah. And going back to the point of the 3 different types of competitors, you are going to make sure that you look out for direct competitors, indirect competitors, and competitors that could replace, a service or product that could replace your service or product. I do have a couple examples of that to help you put that into your long-term memory bank. A direct competitor is the obvious. They're offering the same product and service that you're offering, obviously. An indirect competitor could be somebody that may not be necessarily offering the same product or service. Case in point, my direct competitor might be the neighbor across the street that's already offering that service that, unbeknownst to me, they're also doing that type of pet sitting service. An indirect competitor might be PetSmart. PetSmart is a big box store that also offers pet services like the one that I want to do. But of course, I'm going to focus on something else, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself. And the third and final one that could be a replacement is, say, for example, I didn't really have an example for that one, but one example I can give you is because I love photography is a replacement competitor could be, it's one of the ones that I'm always saying is a smartphone could replace your camera, but for somebody like me, I understand the quality that you get in the output of a digital camera, digital SLR camera, as opposed to an actual phone. And I have a really great phone that takes awesome photos, but I still would not give up my digital camera SLR for that. So that's the replacement type of competition that the mobile phone could actually replace the camera, which it has. So you want to look out for all of those different types of competitors. And also, should you be worried? The answer is, well, it depends. If you don't have the personality, like you pointed out, to stick it out and actually fight and make it work, yeah, you should be worried. and get out. If you don't have the spine or the backbone to deal with it, get out. The earlier you get out, the better. I'm just being honest with you. If you do have the backbone, no, don't be worried. The reason I say that is because there's pros and cons. The pros is that it's going to increase the demand. That's a good thing because they're going to be doing the marketing as well, and so it's going to increase the demand and the awareness. It's going to also cause you to be more innovative in how you produce your product or provide the service, and it's also going to make you try and focus on the customer service because at the end of the day, it's all about the customer. On the opposite side of that is meaning the cons. It does reduce the market share. It will require more marketing focus. So you're going to have to spend a little bit more money to get your word out there and or your service or your product out there, and your customers could potentially be poached. Mm-hmm. So those are the three biggies. And then I guess after that, so don't worry about that. And how you deal with the competition is based on whether you decide to stick it out because you do have some spine, and how you would deal with the competition. I have a couple of steps here. Did you have something you want to start?
Yeah, I'm going to jump into something again that I don't like and didn't want to do, but you coerced me to do it and think. Yes, and think differently. Okay. And that is staying close to your enemies. Mm-hmm. So your enemy is your competition. I mean, you can call them your friends or you can call them whatever you want, but they're enemies. They're after the same customer you are. So you have to stay close to your competition. Mm-hmm. You have to know what they're doing, and you have to know every move they make. So how do you stay close to your competition? To their, visit their website? Yeah, that'll give you some information. Get on their email list, so whenever they send out an email that you're getting a part of it. When you're talking to potential clients that may be using a competitor, you want to pick their brain and get as much information that you can out of that company because they're using your competitor. It's so important to stay close to what they're doing because you can react sometimes. Well, in our case, we've been able to act faster to something than to a business initiative, if you want to call it that, than our competition because they're bigger. So it's important that you allocate someone, husband, wife, allocates some time to keep track of what's going on. And you both actually can do that. I mean, she's reading news releases, I'm reading news releases. We share those news releases. I mean, there's constant collaboration that's going back and forth with us. And that's something that, I think it's very, very important to mention. I didn't have this in my head to talk about, but if she sees something, she shares it with me. If I see something, I share it with her. It's not like I see something and go, she doesn't care. She isn't going to read. No, you share that information because it's important for both of us to know exactly what's going on in our industry and with the competition. So I'll let you jump into.
Okay, well, I guess that's our close to
it is.
I guess it's our warning light.
It is our warning light. I didn't know that we were down to 60 seconds.
No, I'm just messing with you. Well, the first thing that I would recommend is just get a grip on yourself. Okay, number one, get a grip on yourself, because to be honest with you, there's really not an idea out there that hasn't already been thought of. So everybody that is very well experienced in the world of entrepreneurship knows that there is no new idea out there that can be invented. I mean, it gets...
Unless you're an inventor.
True, unless you're an inventor, but most inventors actually, it's a little trinket or something that they come up with.
It's not not everybody's an inventor.
Yeah. So going back to the point of you focus on doing things better. So if you can do it better, then go for it. The other thing also is that if they do, you have to ask yourself the question: what if they are offering? What if they are a direct competitor and they're offering the same product or service that you are offering? Well, then don't lose sleep over that. Focus on, like I mentioned earlier, you focus on customer service. You leverage that difference. You look for something different, because I guarantee you there's something that's going to be unique about you, your company, your product, or your service. You focus on that. You find what that is. You lean into it. You own it. You just boast it. You make sure that that's what your entire messaging rides on, and that's what you want to do. You want to focus on what makes you different and and how you can make that product and service, on how you made that product and service better, and also your passion is also going to help you get through the challenging the ebbs and flows of dealing with competition, and also just keep you in check. The other thing is, don't, like you mentioned earlier, don't obsess. Well, at least I don't, and I'm just suggesting, don't obsess over your competition, what they do and how they do it, and how much marketing money they have in their budget. Just because there's the reason why I suggest that, and that's the reason I practice that. It is demoralizing. If you focus on that, you are going to get depressed. I mean, because face it, there's always somebody out there that is going to be bigger than you. It's going to have more money than us. I should say than us. Somebody's going to be bigger than us. Going to have more money than us, and that's just the fact of life. So you're going to get it's demoralizing. So don't obsess over it. And the other thing too is that it stifles creativity. I'm on the creative side of the house, and it's important to me that that does not get interrupted. So I, by choice, choose not to put that energy in what somebody else is doing. I focus that energy in what we can do better. And the thing too is that keep your eye on the ball. Don't take your eye off the ball. I'm not. This is before I realized that you were going to use the baseball analogy, but I love the baseball analogy. You want to make sure that you dedicate the time to keep your finger on the pulse of your business. Make sure that you also keep the finger on the pulse. Well, you can't really get that close to your competitor, but if you can, go for it. Stay on top of what the strategies and the marketing initiatives are for your competitor, and also find out what motivates your competitor, what their goal is. A case in point is that we deal a lot with, in the real world, not Bradley's Bark Park, but in the real world for us, we deal a lot with competitors that their goal, their motivation is to increase their shareholders' the value for the shareholders. We don't have shareholders because we are the whole owners of our business. So we don't have to contend with that. So that allows us to remove the weight of having to answer to thousands and thousands of shareholders and making them happy. And we use that time and that energy to make our customers happy.
And that's another podcast that we can definitely share experiences with, in meeting with potential investors and making the decision after you meet with an investor. Do you want to go that way or not? That's definitely another podcast that I think would be exciting to hear, because you will learn from that one.
That's a whole nother ball of wax.
It is.
Okay, and the last thing I want to leave you with is the one thing that's my favorite tactic, and that is to embrace it. Embrace the competition, because they force you to think differently, to see your product with your eyes wide open. You want to remove the bias from the way that you look at your product or your service. And when you have competition, they kind of force you to look in the mirror and say, okay, you know what? I'm not as great as I thought I was. I don't provide. I mean, it's good. I think it's good. And also move forward with it. If you have, again, going back to the person, if you have the personality for it, just forge ahead.
You are scary, because I made a note of similar when I see that you are bringing up innovation and moving forward. So I'm going to end with this.
Okay.
Because I worked hard on this one.
I know.
It's short and sweet. Two little sentences. But challenge yourself to embrace competition and be excited to know there is room for your business. So no matter how much competition's out there, there is room for you. There's always enough business. And then use enemy, your competition, use enemy information as fuel to innovate and move forward. So you need that. You need that push. You need competition to push you, because if you're not pushed, then, to me, that's status quo. Yeah. To me, that's no fun. So starting a business is fun, but all these things that we're talking about sounds like a lot, but these are all things that we've learned over building our companies.
And these are things that you're going to have to deal with. So if you want to do the business, if you want to get out there and you're going to have to deal with competition, and you're going to have to know not to let it get to you. And one of my favorite posters that I saw when I was very young, still in college, was a poster that said, it's difficult to fly like an eagle when you are flocking around with turkeys. I love that poster. You want to know why? Because that poster said to me that if I settled to hang out with at a level where I'm comfortable because nobody is making me push myself, that I was just going to get just that turkey meat.
And the same thing.
High.
It's the same thing really with sports. You got to be pushed. You have to be pushed, and you got to aim at the highest you can.
Yeah, and that's what competition does. It makes you get better. So I think
that's it.
It's time. Okay, it's time. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Oh, hey.
What? Oh.
It's our closing.
Yeah. Bye.
That's this week's episode of Married to the Boss podcast.